Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, lies in the center of Nigeria. The National Population Census of 2006 estimated the number of residents to be 1.4 million people. But exponential growth means today the number is believed to be over 6 million, a figure that is expected to double by the year 2030. This is reflected in the strained transport infrastructure. While investments have been made on roads, the provision of public transport and facilities such as buses has been left behind. Private cars have become the dominant transport mode, while public transport suffers from underinvestment and poor service delivery. Left unchecked, these increasingly congested roads will impose greater and greater economic, social, and environmental costs.
Abuja is suffering like other big cities in the world. You know, the urban migration is become something of a concern. There is a big stretch on all infrastructure, and if we don't address it now and plan for the future, it's going to be impossible.
There are many challenges to be faced: poor safety enforcement and traffic management, lack of regulation, and limited infrastructure. To address these urgent needs, the Transport Secretariat has produced a green paper draft policy, which represents the first state-level transport policy in the country. In order for this policy to impact positively on society, government and the private sector must engage in regular dialogue in the policy generation and reform process. So, the Federal Capital Transport Authority is launching a series of public consultations with affected stakeholders on its draft transport policy. These stakeholders include government, the National Assembly, the private sector, and civil society. Everyone is given an opportunity to share their views and provide recommendations on the draft policy's proposals. This process is being supported by Enable, a business advocacy program funded by the UK's Department for International Development.
What Enable is doing with us is helping us to reach out in taking the policy to the various stakeholders so we can have an intersectoral dialogue for the policy. So in order, it should be inclusive, so we get everybody included in the policy, and that's what we're doing.
4 separate public meetings were held, and over 50 organizations participated in this phase. In Gariki, Abuja, the consultation is underway with the business owners and operators in the transport sector.
The absence of regulations really hinders our own operation. But that's why now at this forum we are thinking a number of it like they will be raised. You understand? Why you have policies. You have to implement it. You have to enforce them, you understand? There are really a number of challenges. Like for example, we need to have a dedicated lane where it's only our buses, you understand, that will move on that lane so that we can move faster, you understand? A number of people may decide to leave their vehicles at home if we have this dedicated lane.
We have come here to develop a transport policy for the capital city. So, and it's a good thing, provided the interests of the self-employed drivers will be taken care of. We have problems with police occasionally because, you know, what we have here, we don't have enough bus stops, and because of that, wherever you stop to pick or drop passengers, the police will come around to arrest. So we want to make sure that self-employed drivers were carried along, you know, with the plan of the new policy, transport policy.
I have registered members within the FCT, over 66,244 registered members. Whether government can listen or cannot listen, it is my responsibility. As far as we are citizens of this country, we have the right to talk, whether they will accept or they cannot accept.
So we really need your feedbacks into the policy. your suggestions, anything we've left untouched or unwritten. We need you to give us those feedbacks so we can have move on to have a white paper on transportation. And it's your policy. It has to be your policy for it to work. It has to be a policy for the people.
At the meetings, presentations are made to outline the draft proposals, but crucially, there is open dialogue and discussion about points raised, allowing all participants to have a say.
So at every point we're asking for feedback, so they know that what we're going to come up with is going to be what they want. It's going to be part of what they also feel, that it should be the case.
The question I want to ask is this. We are planning transportation policy for FCT. Now, what plan do we have for the self-employed persons? Because we know that before now, some people have been existing as self-employed.
I wanted to know whether there is another law saying that even at the central stance we are not to operate. But I have a letter direct from the minister authorizing me to operate at the central stance, but not within the FCC.
This open debate allows constructive criticisms to be made and, importantly, allows the Secretariat to carefully and fully explain their policies. The results have been remarkable.
A very wonderful and a very marvelous interaction. Really, the consultants and the sub-persons have done us proud by highlighting most of the problem we have been having in our operation. So rather, what I would say is all my curiosity, all my questions, all my fears have now been addressed and answered. So I'm eager to go back to my station and start to implement what I've had.
We are given the opportunity to talk, and we have suggested on some areas that affect our members. It's a good one. We dealt on many issues, and I believe if the suggestion were made use of, it's a good one.
Through this process of public-private fora, the Federal Capital Transport Authority have made significant progress in developing an effective, sustainable, and enforceable new transport policy.
If people don't own something, they don't feel part of a process, then they just ignore it. And that is it's very sad. But when people actually feel an ownership to something, then they protect it. They make sure it works. They make sure it succeeds. Government should work like that. And the most important and the most sustainable programs are those that go through this process, that the people adopt, that there is a wild consultative process that is involved in it, and then it's inclusive. And that is very important, because if it's not inclusive, if people don't feel a part of your program, they're just going to ignore it.